Okay, I was actually just doing some research on the presidents, trying to figure out if any of them were died when they were 49 or 45, or if they were from San Francisco, or if they died in San Francisco or whatnot. And as I was scrolling here, I mean, I just never put this together. I mean, I've known this, but Obama is the 44th president, but technically he's only the 43rd person to be president because Grover Cleveland served two non consecutive terms. So he's considered the 22nd and the 24th president. So actually, there's only been 43 presidents. Obama is the 43rd president, which makes it very interesting considering how they're building up a lot for the number 44 and how Obama is connected to all this, the 44 and whatnot. But I don't know. It's just something to definitely think about because, I mean, yeah, he is technically the 44th president, but he's only the 43rd person. So the next person will be the 44th person to be president. And, well, 44th and then the 45th, just depending on how you look at it, I guess. So Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and the 24th president. And I don't know, 22 has been huge, especially with the whole Valentine, whatever. 22 has been a huge connecting number to it. So I don't know. That makes me wonder now about the NBA Finals. Even though Cleveland has a Monstar, maybe Cleveland's going to win it because they're 22 and they surrounded, like Russell Westbrook was surrounded with 22s. And this guy also was president on, or he was born on March 18th, 1837. And 37 is a huge number. And March 18th is the 77th day of the year. Anyway, the only president who died at age 49 was James A. Garfield. Yeah, and so yeah, age 49, September 19th, 1881, born on November 19th, which if you reverse it, you got your 9/11. Interesting though, he's buried in James A. Garfield Memorial in Cleveland. So just found that kind of interesting. I didn't really look that much into him. Yeah, I just didn't look that deep. I wasn't even actually trying to do this. So, but anyway, the other, well, actually, hold on. When I think of Garfield, I actually think of Garfield, like the comic. And Garfield was created by Jim Davis. And Jim Davis was born in 1945. And I guess I remember Garfield the most from Garfield and Friends from Saturday morning cartoons. And it actually says that it started in 1988 to 1994, the reverse of 49. It's kind of interesting to me, I guess. And better yet, I looked up the episodes here. So the show 49, they have more than one episode in them. But look at this. It has Quack to the Future. They do a play on time, Back to the Future. And like I've talked about how like all this has to do with time travel and Back to the Future and everything else. In the 49th show, they have a one called the Quack to the Future. I don't have time to watch it right now, but definitely probably going to go back and watch this. Even the first one's called Odie Locks and the Three Cats. So I guess it's about Odie, you know, the dog, Lupercalia, but it's whatever, a version of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Well, that's the gold for California, gold, and the Three Bears, the golden bear. So pretty interesting. Anyway, I'm going to move on. And none of the presidents were born in San Francisco that I could see. The only one, there was one who died in San Francisco, and that was Warren G. Harding. And I mean, look he died. Or he was born November 2nd, so 11/2. 22, talked about that for how long. But he died on August 2nd. And August 2nd is the 214th day of the year. If you do August and then the word second, it adds up to 150, or no, there's 151 days left as well, and Valentine's Day adds up to 151 also. Sorry if that was confusing, but August 2nd, 214th day, with 151 days left until the end of the year, and Valentine's Day adds up to 151. He was also the first president to visit Alaska, the 49th state. He also died of congestive heart failure. Anyway, when I think of Warren G. Harding, I think of Warren G., the rapper. Just who knows why? Warren G., I guess. And Warren G. was actually born on November 10th, 1970, so he will be 45, and he is 44. I've talked about that's my birthday. I've talked about it multiple times. It's actually a really huge day with a lot of connections, but not even going to go into it. But also, he's best known for the song Regulators or Regulate, which actually came out in 1994. So the Mirror of 49. Let's check out Regulate. And the song actually was released on the Above the Rim soundtrack that came out on the 118th day of the year in 94. So there's your 88 reference, and then the Mirror of 49. And then the movie, of course, has Tupac in it. So that's just a whole other like video series in its own. And then basically it's based around this guy, Dwayne Martin, though, and the whole story's about him, and Tupac kind of corrupts him, and then Leon Robinson is like the janitor guy who basically helps him try to get out of the gang life and go to college, I think at Georgetown. But anyway, so basically we got Tupac and this guy are the main characters really. And this guy, the main character, born August 11th, 1965, and he is 49. And 8/11, of course, is 8/11/88. And I guess there was one thing I don't think I ever talked about with November 10th was, maybe I have, but it's the 314th day of the year, so it's a pie day as well. So the song Regulate was actually also on Warren G's album Regulate G Funk Era, but it just came out later in the year or whatever. But earlier when I said the 118th day, that was the single. The soundtrack actually came out on March 22nd, so 3/22/94, even more interesting. So the soundtrack comes out on 3/22, and the single of the song came out on the 118th day of the year. But interesting here, so Warren G is coming out with a new album, a part 2 of his very first album in 2015. Just kind of interesting that he's all of a sudden coming out with the part 2 of his first album in this year. It's also will be his 8th album, so, and the 8s and 88s are big, so who knows. I mean, I guess it also just seems interesting that his last album was from 2009, and 6 years later he comes out with his 8th album. I don't know. I mean, things can happen, whatever, but it's just a long time. Also, when I think of Warren G. Harding, basically I think of a mixture of Warren G. and Tanya Harding. I mean, I know this doesn't really have to mean anything, but what are the odds? You look up stuff. I look up 2 things that remind me of Warren G. Harding, and this is what I find. Tanya Harding, born on November 12th, 1970. So she's also 44, will be 45 this year. But November 12th, there is, not only is it like the 222 or the 22 reference, it's also 49 days before the end of the year. And then, of course, she attacks Nancy Kerrigan, who is 45 years old. Interesting, the picture they have of her is from February 22nd, 222. But also, she hired some guys to attack Nancy Kerrigan. That's what the deal was. And it was on January 6th in 1994, so the Mirror of 49. And honestly, when I think back on it, I just think of the video footage in my head of Nancy Kerrigan crying and whatnot. I should just go back and watch all this. I probably will eventually. I guarantee that's probably fake. I mean, it just, from what I imagine it and remember it, it's like, it just seems fake in my brain right now. At the time it didn't, but it does now. So anyway, I know it's not really that informative, I guess. It's just some thoughts and some little research I'm doing that I'm just kind of showing you where I'm building into it. And but I thought of Michael J. Fox, since a lot of this has to do with Back to the Future, even Lupercalia with the Teen Wolf and that was the same. It went with Space Jam and all that. So I was like, he's probably in some other movies that they have a lot to do with it or something. Maybe it's based around Michael J. Fox in general. Maybe there's whatever. Maybe he's a huge part of it, And as I was looking through his movies, it says that he's in Homeward Bound. He's the dog Chance. But part 2 of Homeward Bound is called Lost in San Francisco, and it came out the same year as Space Jam. Well, that's just kind of interesting. And so I guess in the very first movie, when they must move to San Francisco. And then part 2, like I said, I haven't had time to watch the movie, but part 2, they're leaving San Francisco to go on vacation in Canada, and then they get lost at the airport, and they have to find their way through San Francisco to go across the Golden Gate Bridge to get back home or whatever. But the movie came out on 3/8, which it's a day they like to use, Malaysian airline. But also like the main character is, or the leader of the group is the golden retriever. And I remember watching this movie as a kid, but I don't remember it that well. Life with Mikey. And it's all about Michael Jordan and then Michael J. Fox. So I wonder if this has a whole bunch of stuff in it because it's Life with Mikey. So maybe there's a whole bunch of hidden stuff in it. I don't know. There's just so many. Class of 1984, like George Orwell, 1984. Obama, born on 8/4. Just who knows? But yeah, it even has this movie even has the theme song is "I Am the Future" by Alice Cooper. So, but who knows? I'm just gonna end this video here, and I got a ton of research to do, extra research to do now. I have a couple more videos that I want to get out tonight, hopefully, that actually really do talk about more stuff that makes a lot more sense instead of just research or whatever. But anyway, have a good night.